Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing a simple way to add bold color to your card projects and use up some of those cardstock scraps that we all have laying around. I am going to not use any inks for stamping today, but instead I'm going to use some colorful cardstock. So I am using some brand new products from Pinkfresh Studio. This is their February 2023 release, or part of it, I should say. And it includes this brand new nested arches, hot foil plates, and coordinating die set. Now these are fabulous, and I will link to a video where I created some other projects using some of their nested shapes. I'm also going to be using the Around the Arches sentiment set, and I won't be using this particular set here, but this is the Arch Florals, and it coordinates beautifully with those nested shapes. And the product suite for this includes a stamp set, a die set, as well as the layering stencils, and you can see how those floral shapes wrap nicely around the top of these arches. Now I've pulled several colors of cardstocks here. These are kind of cut down pieces that I have in my stash. And I'm going to use my trimmer to cut these pieces into 3/8 inch strips. And I have 5 colors here, but I did end up adding a darker teal color as well. Now I'm going to attach these onto a piece of white cardstock, and I'm just using some tape runner adhesive, and I'm starting kind of with the middle color so I can center that up, and I'm placing these at an angle. Now, I considered butting them up against each other, but I thought it would be really fun to leave a tiny bit of white between each of these colors of cardstock. It really does kind of freshen up this pattern that I'm creating. It doesn't make the colors feel so heavy and dense. And to do this, I'm actually just eyeballing it, but if you wanted to cut like an 1/8 of an inch strip of white cardstock to place between as your guide, you could definitely do that. Now I'm adding all of these colors on here, and later on I ended up having to add a few more strips because it didn't quite fill my arch the way I wanted it. But for now, let's go ahead and move on and work on our hot foiling. So I'm going to use the largest of the nested arches, and I'm going to place it onto my Gemini foil press. And then I'm adding my Glimmer Prism foil with the pretty side down. And for today's foiling, I'm using the Concord and 9th white cardstock. Now I have my foil press set to the medium heat, and once I placed that on there, I set my timer for a minute, and when the timer was done, I removed the platform from the base and ran that through my Gemini Junior, and you can see I have a beautiful foiled arch on this white cardstock. Now this is gorgeous as it is, but I want to add one of those really cool Around the Arches sentiments. And so I'm grabbing the stamp set here, and I'm going to use this one that's in the lower corner here. It says Love You, and it has that nice fine line around the arch as well. I'm placing that into my Misty stamping tool and picking that up with the lid of the Misty. And then I'm going to ink this up using some hybrid black ink. Now, once I ink that up really well, I'm going to close the lid of my Misty and press this down gently. I'm using my Pinkfresh Studio stamp press today, but I do want to mention I'm not putting a ton of pressure on this because there are some really fine lines on the stamp, and I don't want to blow them out. Too much pressure can make that really fine line get fat and kind of blobby looking. So you want to be careful with the pressure that you use. Now I went ahead and heat set that because I am going to do some die cutting, and I don't want this slow drying hybrid ink to transfer to my die cutting plates. And then I've grabbed some of the coordinating nested arches dies. I'm lining those up with the foiled and stamped patterns on this paper, holding them in place with a little bit of the Spellbinder's Best Ever craft tape. And then I ran that through my Gemini Junior to die cut these shapes. And then I'm going to be left with this arch shape frame that has the foiling along the outside, and then on the inner edge, I have that beautiful, delicate stamping. Now here's where I kind of discovered that I needed a few more strips of cardstock, so I just grabbed the scraps that I had there, added a couple more, and you can see that I actually reversed my order. So instead of after the teal color going back to the pink, I actually went backwards in the order. And so I have the concentration of blue and greens at the bottom and the pinks and oranges toward the top. Now I die cut that using one of the nested arches as well, and I have that to place behind my frame. And now I am grabbing the circle florals. Now this is similar to the arch florals, but it is designed to coordinate with the nested circle hot foil plates and dies from Pinkfresh Studio. I wanted these to kind of come into the arch, which is why I'm using the circle florals instead of the arch florals. I didn't want it around the outside edge of my arch, if this makes sense. So I've gone ahead, I've prepped my surface of my vellum using a powder tool, stamped this stamp using some Versamark ink, and then I added some superfine detail white embossing powder and heat set that. And then I grabbed the coordinating die and die cut those floral shapes out. Now, I'm going to have this kind of come in from these corners here instead of wrapping around the outside of the shape, which is why I chose the circle florals instead of the arch florals. And I'm just positioning them where I want them and adding a little bit of liquid glue to hold those to the back side of this frame. And then I'm going to trim off the excess, which later on you'll see I probably shouldn't have done. Now I'm going to use some foam adhesive to adhere this frame onto my arch panel that has all those colorful cardstock strips. And then I am going to place this on an ivory card base, but I decided that something needed to be coming out from that arch onto the card base. So yes, I went ahead and heat embossed another set of those circle florals, die cut them out, and I'm placing them behind this arch panel that I created. And I almost ruined everything here because I removed the backer from the foam adhesive and it stuck to my work surface. I was afraid I was going to kind of mar it up, but luckily I escaped and no panels were harmed in the making and removing of this panel from the glass mat. Now for a little more sparkle and shine, I opted to use the champagne glitter drops from Pinkfresh Studio, but you can see along the top of the screen there are some gorgeous new ombre glitter drops available from Pinkfresh Studio. They are a part of this brand new February 2023 release, so if you want to check that out, be sure to head over there. And I will have all the links to the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. Now, once again, I felt like this needed just one more little touch. So I went ahead and embossed the sentiment that says "You are the best." This is from the Arch Florals stamp set. And I trimmed this strip down to 3/8 inch, which matches the width of all of the other strips that I previously used. And I'm going to tuck this kind of behind the frame and allow it to kind of shoot out of the boundaries of the frame. I thought this was a beautiful finishing touch for this card. I added it on with some foam adhesive so that it would come up to the level of the frame. And I absolutely love the way this card turned out. It's a great way to use up cardstock strips and really experiment with colors because this allows you to really see them up next to each other. I love the pop of that citrine green or yellow in there. It's kind of that mixture between yellow and green, and I think it makes this color palette really pop. Now, as I mentioned before, I will have links to all the featured products used in this project in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for anything in particular, including the cardstock colors, I will have those linked below. But you can also head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have a link to that below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, a complete list of supplies, as well as some information on a blog hop celebrating this brand new release from Pinkfresh Studio. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and go ahead and click that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm so glad you're here. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.